Hi, I'm Dawn Schuler, Soulful Business Coach and Corporate Trainer and Consultant. For 17 years, I've worked with hundreds of entrepreneurs, businesses, and organizations to help them be more successful, more productive, and to continue the passion and purpose that they started their business or career with in the first place. See, I believe you can have it all. You can have a business that feeds your soul and is successful. The key to that is to run your business like a business. That's why I decided to do the Love Your Business Deeply 15-day challenge, where every day I'll share one tip, idea, tool, or resource to really help you be the CEO of your business. So let's get started.
Hello out there. This is Dawn with the Love Your Business Deeply Challenge, day 4. And this challenge is designed to help you run your business like a business. As I've been saying over the last few days, the reason why this is even an issue is because most people start their businesses from that inspirational place, what they were motivated and feel passionate about doing, not because they love running a business. However, if you don't run the business like a business, it could run you. It could, all sorts of issues, all sorts of problems. And so one of those areas that crops up for all of us, honestly, is having clear standards and then the need to put boundaries to uphold those standards. That's what's tough sometimes. So first of all, let's define standards. What are standards? Standards are basically your clear idea of how you do things, when you do things, how you might respond, how you might follow up, how you want to be treated by others, all sorts of areas. And I'll talk about a few specific ideas and details in a moment. Boundaries are what you put in place. Think of them like a fence to keep those standards safe, so to speak. So let's do an example. So say your office hours, you work from home, and boy, there's a lot of standards and a lot of boundaries when we work from home sometimes that we need to put in place. So let's say your standard is that your office hours, the time that you're working in your home office, are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And that every day from 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. you take a lunch. Now, I'm sure there's some of you out there that are like, what, you mean lunch? Like, what's that? And I have to say that sometimes I am guilty of that myself. Um, Standards can always be improved. That's why this affects all of us. All right, so let's say that's your standard, right? So you work 9 to 5, you take an hour for lunch. That's your standard. So sometimes you might need to put a boundary in place if somebody comes up against that standard. The problem is a lot of us are people pleasers. We don't want to say no. We don't want someone to feel disappointed or reject us or be mad at us. I mean, how often does that happen? And so sometimes we don't keep those standards safe. And so then we let people come in and they intrude upon that standard. Now, here's one thing I want to say. Having high standards and putting boundaries in place is your responsibility. As much as it would make it so much easier if everybody else just upheld our standards and we didn't have to, keep those boundaries in place and keep sticking to them, wouldn't it be lovely if everybody else just respected our standards and listened to them? Wouldn't that be wonderful? And it's not their responsibility. So let's go back to that. Your office hours are 9 to 5. Is it your client's responsibility to never send you an email or never try to call you after 5 p.m.? Mm-mm. It's your responsibility not to answer the phone and not to respond to the email. after 5 p.m. Because here's what happens. The minute you get a little slippery on those standards, you're setting a precedent. And that means you're making things muddy and you're confusing people. So, I mean, think about parenting. And I remember this growing up with my brothers, and I learned very quickly what worked and what didn't. My brothers are 8 and 10 years younger than I am. And so they'd go, Mommy, can we go outside and play? And she'd say, no. Can we go outside and play? No. Over and over. And then finally she'd go, okay, fine, go outside and play. So what did they learn? Well, you know what? If I ask enough, she'll let me go out and play. So that there were very loose and very loosey-goosey standards, and there were no boundaries. So that idea is, if you say something, and you say something as your standard, then it's up to you to uphold it. That first time that you get a little loose on your standards, and if there's no communication about this is an exception, then you're setting that precedent for your clients, or this example, to continue to do that. Because why not? I mean, you said your hours were from 9 to 5, but then you did respond to this email at 7. So next time when this thing comes up, I think I'll probably just go ahead and send another email. Maybe she'll respond this time. Because it's up to you to uphold those boundaries. So you want to get really clear on what's important, how you want your business and your life to go, how you want to be treated. I remember when my girls were little, and considering they're 22 and 19 right now, that's a long time ago, and I was running my business. I had my home office just like I do now, but when they're 4 and 6 or whatever, it's a little different when they're 19 and 22 and living off elsewhere. I had to have conversations with them. I had a mother's helper when they were little, and she would be there during crucial hours. Like, these were times when I'd have conference calls with my clients or whatever. And then the rule was, if the door's closed, unless there's blood or broken bones, no interruptions. And we actually still use that rule today. I'm doing this, I'm shutting the door, no interruptions unless it's a true emergency. And then, of course, I had to define what a true emergency is. Blood or broken bones or near death. So luckily, after a while, when they would try to interrupt, and I would say, is this a true emergency? I just could see the feet kind of go, they just go away. Because they knew it wasn't a true emergency. That can be so hard to do, by the way. I've got a worksheet for you, and I'll post the link in the description after the video's done. It's so hard. So on this worksheet, one side of the worksheet you put your standards, and you get as clear as you can, all sorts of different areas. And then on the other side, you put what are the boundaries that you might need to put in place to uphold that standard. And then I was thinking, well, that's the challenging part, right? Figuring out the boundaries. No. That's not the challenging part. The challenging part is then actually doing it. Here's another example of standards and boundaries. If, say, you're a coach or a consultant and you have a welcome packet, if your standard is you do not start working with that client until they have returned the welcome packet completed and signed to you, what happens when you send them the welcome packet and they say, oh, I want to schedule a call, tomorrow or next week, but they haven't sent the welcome packet back? How do you respond? It should be, as you know, one of my standards is I need this completed welcome packet filled out. It's going to make the work we do much more impactful, much more powerful, be easier to dive in. And so once you get that completed and back to me, I will be happy to schedule that first call. You don't have to get all up in arms. Yesterday's, day 3, was about not taking things personally. You just very graciously positively communicate, this is your standard. So one of the things I was thinking about on that standards worksheet is it can be really easy as I won't do client work after 5 p.m. or I won't work on weekends. I won't do this. I won't do that. I don't want to be interrupted. I like to think of reframing it so it's in a more positive language. So instead of I won't do client work after 5, it's my office hours are from 9 to 5, and that is when I do client work. If you find yourself thinking of these standards in that more I don't want this and I don't want that, it's probably because you feel that your standards have been trampled on and that you haven't been respected. And so that's the key. That's why I say one of the definitions of a standard is how do you want to be treated? You get to say, here's how I want to be treated. And depending on the infraction, it's not okay for you to treat me that way. Now, again, we can put our boundaries in place with grace and positivity and impactful communication and even love, depending on where we're having to put these boundaries. But it's important to do that. Now, if you're still struggling with that, if you have children, then one of the best things that you're doing when you have standards, high, whatever you want to call them, high standards, clear standards, and you put boundaries and you uphold those, you are modeling amazing behavior and life skills for your children. So if you need a better reason than the fact that you get to deserve to be treated how you want, then hopefully there's your reason. This is really crucial. Even if you feel like you've got a pretty good handle on standards and boundaries, I still recommend that you go through the exercise and just getting clear on all these different areas of how you want to be treated, when you do things, how you respond, how you communicate, what you will do, even what you won't do, and then what boundaries might you need to put in place to keep that perimeter secure. I would love to hear some feedback in the comments about standards and boundaries. If there's something that you want to say now with me, great. If not, and you're watching the replay, then feel free to add your comments in the discussion. I can't stress how important being very clear on your standards and putting boundaries around those standards to keep them safe and secure, because you deserve that. So I hope you have found this helpful. Stay tuned for tomorrow, day 5, and go off and be the amazing person and CEO of your business that I know you are. All right, take good care. Bye-bye.
If any of what I've shared here resonates with you and you want to chat about your business, let's have that no obligation conversation to see if there's something there. It may be just what you need to have the business of your dreams.